Refinement of Antichrist, Chapter 1, Trilogy by Natalia Foley, copyright 2025, all rights reserved. Jennifer's office was saturated with that unique energy found only in a TV studio newsroom. The kind of place where you need to know what's happening in the world every single minute, and you need to know it first. It's always a rush, it's always a sense of urgency. Someone who has lived in that kind of environment for a while can never go back to living without it. Such a person can't take a vacation, can't have a normal private life. He or she will always be hooked on the latest breaking news. It's like a drug. It seems so important, and it makes you feel important just to be part of the process. But in reality, it's just vanity, just noise. Jennifer had kind of known about it, so she was trying to stay calm and keep some distance. But at the same time, she couldn't resist the rush, especially now that she was Teddy King's wife. That is, she had been for 2 weeks. She knew everyone saw her as a gold digger, but she wasn't. She loved Teddy, and they had been together for over 5 years. Quite a long time, especially for someone her age. She was 33 and Teddy was 85. More than a 50-year age gap. People thought it was too much. Perhaps she might have thought so too under different circumstances, but she didn't. It was a strange feeling. Everything in her life felt a little strange. She had always lived more by her intuition than by her conscious mind. So according to her rational thinking, Teddy was too old and their marriage was nonsense. But according to her intuition, he was the only man in the world she could truly be happy with. Teddy felt the same way about Jen. She was the only woman he had ever truly wanted, although he couldn't even begin to count the number of women he'd been with. It was totally irrelevant. He had been waiting for Jen his whole life, searching for her without even knowing who he was looking for. And the moment he saw her, it was as if the air around them turned into a thick, sticky substance. Time became irrelevant because it simply ceased to exist. You could only see the other person's eyes, feel their presence, and be enveloped in an incredible softness all around you. A softness filled with happiness, with life itself. It was like swimming in oil infused with love, slipping effortlessly into pure bliss, and there was nothing you could do about it, because this was the one thing in the entire world you would never want to give up. That was Jen. That was how Teddy felt when he saw her. Strangely enough, that was exactly how she felt too. Plus, of course, there was the flicker dancing in her eyes. That strange, familiar flicker she always got whenever something truly important was about to happen to her. It was like a dream, but at the same time it felt so real that Jen could even feel the hit, that sudden electric jolt. She felt it the very moment she saw Teddy for the first time, and from that instant she knew he was her man. She felt as though she had known him forever. Strangely, she was even able to anticipate his habits, his likes and dislikes, as if they were two spouses who had spent the past 45 years together, so in tune that they didn't need words to communicate meaningfully. Except they hadn't spent 45 years together. They had only been together for 5 years and legally married for the past 2 weeks. Part of Jennifer's prenuptial agreement gave her the right to select 3 news segment days for her husband's show, as long as he remained its host. It was a strange condition, but even stranger was the fact that it was Teddy who insisted on including that clause. It was his gift to her, like many other valuable and important gifts, but this one held special significance for him. It was meant to show how much he trusted and appreciated her. He wanted her to be certain about everything, even though, deep down, he knew no one could ever truly be certain about anything in this life. So, for the past 3 weeks, Jennifer had carefully selected 3 major news stories for her famous husband's daily show, and so far she had been successful in her choices. However, every single time she was picking what they called the breaking news, she felt like a law school graduate preparing for the bar exam. Every single day was a test of her life. Jennifer was sitting in her office, which was decorated in a way only a woman could, full of personality and warmth. It was a charming mix of family photos, fresh flowers, and little things she might need every so often. Lipsticks, hand warmers, nail polish. All of this was intermingled with stacks of papers, scribbled on, typed up, printed out, and the occasional snapshot or photo printout. She had several tables, each cluttered with different laptops, all running translation programs converting unrelated news fragments from around the world. It was a cacophony of sounds. But blending into the background was some soft jazz music, a soothing contrast to the organized chaos. It helped Jennifer relax and stay focused. She felt very comfortable in this mess. The one thing that suddenly put her on edge was an odd sense of presence, something unannounced, unwelcome, someone unfamiliar, worse, an ominous stranger. Jennifer sensed the danger through every inch of her skin. It was like a cold, sharp breeze lifting the tiny hairs on her arms. She perked up, her eyes scanning the room carefully, but there was no one there. So what had caused that sudden fear? She wasn't a nervous type. She wasn't delusional either. She thought, why did I get that strange feeling? She tried to reconstruct the moment that triggered her alarm. Well, it was like some faint footsteps, or not even steps, more like a shift in the air. A barely detectable rustle, almost imperceptible. Nonsense. Jennifer dismissed her suspicions as unwarranted. I'm just a little too tired. She stepped out of her office, staring down the long, empty corridor. Nobody was there. Nonsense, she repeated to herself, then turned back toward her desk. On the way, she picked up a few pages containing proposed news ideas. And suddenly she forgot about everything else. She couldn't believe her eyes. This was it. It was breaking news, not just one story, but an entire package. She rushed to the computer to verify whether anyone else had already reported on it. No, no one had. So this would be her moment. Her first truly breaking news day. Then, without even thinking clearly, Jennifer dialed into the video archive. "Claire?" she asked. "Yes, Jen." Claire was, as always, kind and willing to help. "Would you please verify if we have the material?" Jennifer looked at the selected news items. They had been marked with consecutive numbers, which was unusual, but she missed that detail at the time. Later, when she tried to recall that morning, she realized that sequence should have alarmed her, but it didn't. So she simply read the number aloud. News number 23, 24, and 25. "Yes, we have the material. Perfect." Jen was truly excited. "This is our breaking news for today. Start with our usual announcement. News number 23 will air at 1 p.m., number 24 at 3 p.m., and number 25 at 5 p.m. "Sure," Claire replied, then disconnected. Jennifer was almost feverish with excitement. She was preparing to be on camera in just a few minutes. The biggest thrill came from making the decision all on her own. She didn't have any superior anymore. She didn't need anyone's approval for her news. It was her call, and she proved it. She had chosen the 23rd news package of the day, and she would be running the stories. Her first appearance was at 11 a.m., just 3 minutes away. She knew Teddy wouldn't be in the studio before noon, so she wanted to surprise him with the booming audience numbers that she expected to peak around that time. Teddy will be amazed. It was 11 a.m. when Jennifer stepped into the studio and, staring directly into the camera, announced, "Mysterious disappearance of David Backman, grandson of Michigan Senator Backman. Tragic accident, kidnapping for ransom, or perhaps a mysterious conspiracy. Watch live only on TNC at 1 p.m. 1. Jennifer had almost finished her morning announcement when she noticed Teddy on set. His face looked disturbingly uneasy, and instantly, dangerous flickers of fire danced in Jennifer's eyes. She hurried toward Teddy, but before she could even ask what was wrong, why he looked so alarmed, or why he was at the studio so early, his cell phone rang from his pocket. Teddy reached for the phone and froze, his mouth hanging open. The microphone nearly vibrated from the screen. Someone was yelling at Teddy with such intensity that it was impossible to hide. The force of the voice was so overwhelming that Teddy couldn't even find a moment to squeeze in a response, and perhaps he didn't have one at all. Suddenly, he covered the speaker with his hand and whispered to Jennifer in a low, stunned tone, "How did you get the news about Backman's son disappearing?" "Oh, that." Jennifer was somewhat prepared for the question, partly because she had already recognized Senator Backman's voice still coming through Teddy's phone. and partly because she had expected some kind of reaction to her news announcement. She just hadn't expected it to come so fast or be so loud. It's one of my 3 selected news stories. I understand that, Teddy replied quietly. I asked, who brought this news? Did you verify it? Jennifer hesitated. Well, in that moment she realized she had violated one of the most fundamental rules of journalism, breaking extremely important news, especially one that could be highly sensitive to powerful people without proper verification. At that moment, she couldn't believe her own senses. Had she really failed to do what she always did? She stood frozen, mouth slightly open, her brain racing for an answer. How on earth could this have happened? She tried to recall every consideration she had made before airing the story. There wasn't a single sign that she had attempted to verify the facts, and now she couldn't believe it herself. She was one of the best journalists in the country, an objective fact. She valued her position deeply, had worked hard to get where she was, and professional ethics had always been her top priority. So, how could she have missed the obvious? How could she have run a story of such magnitude without verifying it first? She kept searching for answers, but there were none. Teddy needed only a fraction of a second to piece things together. He realized something serious had happened and that Jennifer was at fault. Worse, he understood that pointing fingers now was useless. The damage was already done, and no amount of blame could undo it. So he took control of the situation immediately. With a simple motion, he raised his hand, palm outward, toward Jennifer, as if stopping a stream of fear flowing from her very being. And like a wounded animal sensing help, she calmed down instantly, surrendering in that moment to the understanding that now her man was in charge. A relief she accepted, not just gratefully, but with a sense of peace. Teddy returned to the phone and desperately interrupted the senator's furious yelling. Senator, with all due respect, the news is verified. I can't reveal my source yet, but may I ask you a question? When was the last time you spoke to your grandson? That completely disarmed Senator Backman, who was on the other end of the line. He had already exhausted his entire stock of rage. The question seemed to paralyze him. He simply couldn't clear his mind enough to find the answer. The scream from the cell phone had stopped. Jennifer silently exhaled in premature relief. She knew deep down it was just too early to relax, but she just couldn't help herself. The senator's rage-filled yelling had been torturing her. Teddy, on the other hand, remained calm, clearly in control and honestly, seemingly unshaken. He continued persistently. Senator, could you remember when you last spoke to your grandson? This is almost imperative right now. His voice was urgent, attentive, and carried the weight of someone genuinely concerned for the well-being of the person on the other end of the line. The senator fell into the trap. He instantly forgot his anger. He forgot that he had been screaming like a wounded bear just seconds ago. Now he felt vulnerable, like he was in trouble, and the only person who could help was asking him a very important question. And suddenly everything depended on it. His own future, his well-being, and perhaps even his son's life. That's why it was so critical to find the answer. Senator Backman searched desperately through his memory, but the answer just wouldn't come. And with every second that passed, waves of shame and guilt crashed over.